China and Russia are feeling the heat, and it's all thanks to Donald Trump's shocking return as the 47th President of the United States. This election, it's set to shake the entire world, and two nations are bracing for impact.
What he said publicly about wanting to improve relations with Russia and resolve the Ukraine conflict, I think that at least deserves attention. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate him on his election as the US President.
As the announcement of Trump's victory spread, leaders around the globe scrambled to get their congratulations in first. In politics, timing matters, and sending a prompt congratulatory message is often about securing a diplomatic edge. World leaders move carefully, eager not to be outdone by their rivals. But all eyes, of course, were on two of the most powerful and controversial figures of the moment: China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin. Both eventually extended their cautious congratulations, but their expressions barely veiled the uncertainty brewing beneath the surface. Because now, as Trump takes office again, both leaders must confront a monumental question: how will they fare with him this time around? Trump's return marks a shift in the global balance of power, and as the world anticipates the foreign policy shifts to come, the stakes couldn't be higher. For Moscow and Beijing, there's little doubt. A new storm is gathering, and the potential fallout could be immense. Before we dig into the details, make sure to hit subscribe for more insights on international politics and the drama shaping our world. Now, let's jump in. One thing is certain: Trump hasn't changed his America First approach. His new term promises to keep that message front and center, with every decision underpinned by what he believes best serves American interests. But what does that mean for the nation's top rivals? To answer that, we can look back at Trump's previous term in office and analyze what he's been saying on the campaign trail this time around.
Your critics are saying that you're going to start another trade war with China.
It's not a trade war. I did great with China with everything. Look, China came in, they were going to destroy our steel industry, and I put tariffs, big tariffs.
You're talking about 60% tariffs on Chinese goods. Is that in the cards?
No, I would say maybe it's going to be more than that, because we're going to have, look, I want China to do great, I do. And I like President Xi a lot. He was a very good friend of mine during my term.
Let's start with China. During Trump's first term, the relationship between the US and China deteriorated rapidly, transforming into a bitter trade war that reshaped the global economy. In 2018, Trump initiated a massive wave of tariffs on Chinese goods under Section 301, impacting a staggering $250 billion in imports. By 2019, he doubled down with even more tariffs on another $112 billion. The message was clear: Trump wanted to curb China's economic power and challenge its influence in global trade. These tariffs took a toll on both economies, with supply chains strained and prices spiking. But Trump didn't stop at tariffs. He put China's tech giant Huawei on a blacklist, citing national security concerns. This effectively cut Huawei off from using Google's Android operating system, a move that nearly crippled its global smartphone business. China, of course, didn't sit idly by. Beijing retaliated with tariffs on $185 billion worth of American goods, primarily targeting the US agricultural and manufacturing sectors. Additionally, China introduced non-tariff barriers, such as stricter customs inspections and delays in approving US companies for Chinese markets. When the Biden administration took office, there was a glimmer of hope for a reset. The Phase 1 deal attempted to reduce some of the tariffs, but the majority of them remained intact. Trump's stance, however, was unyielding. Unlike Biden, he refused to offer concessions, asserting that China's economic ambitions posed a serious threat to American interests. And now, as he returns to power, Trump's stance appears to be as aggressive as ever. He's hinted at even more tariffs, not just on Chinese goods but on imports from the European Union as well. For China, this news is far from welcome. Facing an economy that's already faltering, Beijing is desperate to stabilize. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ma Ning responded to the possibility of new tariffs with a reserved but telling statement. There is no winner in a trade war. But in Trump's eyes, the stakes go far beyond tariffs. He sees China as America's primary global rival, and he's made it clear that he intends to curb its influence in the Asia-Pacific region. For Xi Jinping, this signals turbulent times ahead. Trump's strategy will likely intensify economic pressure, pushing for trade restrictions and export controls aimed at stifling China's growth in key sectors. The result? an increasingly strained relationship that could push both nations to the brink of an all-out economic showdown. And then there's Russia.
Do you respect Putin?
I do respect him.
Do you?
But
Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right,
major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea. It's very
He's a
possible
killer,
I
though.
won't.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
In 2016, when Trump first came into power, Russia had high hopes. Moscow hoped that with Trump in office, there was a chance for the lifting of sanctions that have been crippling its economy. These sanctions were in response to Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea and its alleged interference in the 2016 US elections, a claim that was at the heart of the infamous Mueller investigation. But despite Trump's clear desire to improve relations, lifting sanctions proved politically impossible. While Trump made efforts to roll back a few measures, his administration ultimately imposed additional sanctions, maintaining a firm stance against Moscow. Now, with Trump back in office, many wonder if he will attempt to ease relations with Russia once again. But there's a major new factor at play: the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Throughout his campaign, Trump has repeatedly declared that he could end the war in a day. He claims to have a strategy, but he's kept it deliberately vague, suggesting that surprise is a key part of his approach. Speculation abounds as to what this mystery plan might entail. Analysts suspect Trump may be considering delaying Ukraine's NATO membership, or perhaps even offering Russia concessions in exchange for a ceasefire. Some former advisors believe he might be willing to negotiate control over contested territories on the front lines. This speculation worries Ukraine deeply, especially given Trump's skepticism about the billions in US aid provided to Kiev. Trump has been vocal in questioning the value of such aid, asserting that it benefits neither the US nor Ukraine, and that past approaches to resolving the conflict have been futile. During a debate in September, Trump suggested that Ukraine might have avoided the bloodshed by compromising with Moscow early on. For a nation that has endured significant losses, his words have fueled doubts about his commitment to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty. Still, in a calculated move, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was one of the first to congratulate Trump, aligning himself with Trump's philosophy of peace through strength. Zelensky is likely well aware of the stakes and is positioning Ukraine to stay in Trump's good graces, hoping to secure continued support. Putin, too, eventually extended his congratulations, but with a subtle reminder that the US has been far from an ally in recent years. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov pointed out that the US has directly supported Ukraine against Russia. For Moscow, Trump's victory doesn't necessarily spell an end to American involvement in the war. Russia is realistic about the US likely continued support for Ukraine, which could mean more sanctions and further isolation. But it's not just Russia and China that Trump has in his sights. His foreign policy ambitions extend to the Middle East as well. Throughout his campaign, Trump has made bold promises to bring peace to the region. He's claimed that if he'd been in office, the recent conflict between Israel and Hamas would never have escalated. Trump's stance on Israel has always been clear. He's one of Israel's most ardent supporters. In his first term, he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, moving the US embassy there in a historic and controversial decision. This has made him a hero to many in Israel, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu even calling Trump the nation's best friend in the White House. Now, Trump is vowing to end both the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and the Israel-Hezbollah tensions in Lebanon. His plan remains undisclosed, but his unwavering support for Israel suggests that his strategy will likely favor Israeli interests. In doing so, he risks alienating other nations in the region, which could lead to new geopolitical challenges. Yet, if Trump succeeds, he could reshape the Middle Eastern landscape in a way that strengthens US-Israel relations and solidifies his legacy. As Trump's second term unfolds, the world is watching with bated breath. His unpredictable approach to foreign policy and his willingness to clash with powerful nations make him a unique force on the global stage. While some might view his America First policy as isolationist, Trump sees it as a means to reassert US dominance. And with China and Russia forced to navigate his assertive policies, the potential for global upheaval is immense. The next few months in Washington are set to be a high-stakes game of diplomacy, power plays, and strategic alliances. Will Trump double down on his previous tactics, or could we see a surprising shift in strategy? One thing is certain, the entire international community will be watching Trump's every move. Whether he'll opt for a diplomatic approach or take a more confrontational stance remains to be seen. Regardless, Trump is poised to leave his mark on the world stage once again. For Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, this new era in Washington could spell both opportunity and danger. Subscribe for more on global affairs and the shifting tides of power.